moderate, Pav.
Do we want to?
We're
Do
just
we want?
animals here.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another BTCPay Server dev call. As usual, we have a bunch of BTCPay Server contributors and developers on this call discussing the progress of the 1.5 release this time. According to our roadmap, it seems that we are getting very close with the release. So in this call, we'll discuss a little bit on the PRs that are remaining and maybe some issues that we have along the way. I guess the first item on the agenda is the pull request number 3476 transfer processor by Cooks. I tested this one a little bit. It seems okay to me. So has anybody had any time to play around with it, or Cooks, do you want to intro it? What's left basically?
Today, today, I check the code. Like it seems like there is some minor things because there is a migration port. Like the way it was doing would have crashed on some instances. So just small thing. I think now it's basically fixed. And yeah, I could not find like I think it's really small detail like it should be very near from releasing. It will be nice. So I don't know how we do it. Like there is missing. I think we need to document it properly. So I don't know what the best thing to do if it's to wait for a blog post when we do the big release, or if like Cook start to improve a bit the description with some screenshot and explaining those two features.
Yeah. I think ideally we get this merged in, and then we start adding tooltips here and there with links to documentation stuff, because we'll need a few follow-up PRs. I actually have two follow-up PRs already in it. They're even in the agenda already, that basically build on top of it and improve some stuff. But usability wise, we do have to change some things in the short term to make it nicer.
Before the
But
first release or not?
I mean, like adding
Or we can
tooltips and
always
stuff.
do it in small release afterwards. This.
Yeah, either or, they both work for me. One thing I need to do before we merge this is I was talking with it about it with Pav, and I think I want to rename it from transfer processors to payout processors, because it only deals with payouts, right?
Yep.
So I should do that before we merge this in, because it's gonna like namespaces, terms, and all that stuff have to change.
But it's also integrated in the wallet send page, right?
Yes. So let me give a quick overview of how this feature works. We're introducing a new type of entity inside BTC Pay. It's called currently it's called transfer processors. What they do is they hook into the pull payments system, um, specifically the payouts of a pull payment, and now what they will do is will automate the flow of payouts. So, for example, if you have a payout of on-chain Bitcoin to send zero point 0.1 Bitcoin to address A, uh, you can have a transfer processor which will automatically do that transfer for the payout. Um, it's a bit more complicated than that. It's a bit more abstract than that. So you can do it for Lightning bolts payments, Lightning address payouts as well. Um, Plugins can build their own transfer processors as well and integrate with it. So if you had to do, I don't know, some crazy magic, you can do that.
But the transfer processor, are they just bundling the payout together and sending them, or they are creating as well their own payout?
Um, it doesn't really. There's no scope to it. They're just pieces of code that run based on payouts. So, for example, for Lightning, it's not bundling them together. It can only send the invoices one by one, right? So it's not a batcher there. In the next major version after this one, I want to do the pay join batching as well. So, it's kind of a different flow to it. I want to build a plugin as well that can basically trigger um, for example, when you do a payout to somebody, maybe you can trigger something on an exchange to buy more Bitcoin or something like that. So there are some things I want to build that are not directly associated with, batching and sending out the payout itself. But yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering like if it's well, I think by now we don't have to change it, but like if it's not over abstracting this, because so the current transfer processor you did, if I understand, there's a one except for Lightning, but they check the list of payouts that exists, and then every hours or every whatever time they batch them together and send them to people.
Yeah.
So I was I was not really thinking what else it could be done except except like batching and putting in page one maybe. But
You can
then
do.
after you don't want several payment transfer processor to step onto each other as well.
Yeah. So ideally, yeah, that's something I want to worry about, but later, I'm sure we can figure out something to either mark them as locked or something like that while the processor is running or something like that. So
Okay, we'll
yeah,
see
I'm sure
later.
we can figure that part out later. Basically, also like one example that I want to build as well is when the Wabi-Sabi code is more stable. I also want to build it into a plugin, not directly inside BTCPay, but it would be a plugin where instead of batching into one transaction of your own, you batch them into the pay join, and you can use the KVAC credential system to blindly create outputs and inputs in there. So yeah, basically every payout that you do is basically through a coin join, which could be quite interesting. It doesn't have to be Wasabi's coin join either, coordinator, so don't worry about that. But it's also opt-in. So yeah, these are basically things that I'm trying to plan around. I'm trying to keep the system vague as much as possible so that we can extend and refine later on, depending on what we want to build.
Maybe later with the payout we send money, right? Yeah. So maybe later actually it might go well with the exchange integration.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that can match well. Like you have a bunch of payout to pay, then you just send directly from the exchange or something like this.
Yeah. So for example, one key element in this that is not fully scoped out is basically you can like if you have an exchange address that you want to send money continuously to, or a cold storage address you want to continuously send money to, because let's imagine your store is a hot wallet that you enable for ease of use and convenience. Let's say every time it gets filled up to a zero point 0.5 Bitcoin, you want it sent to cold storage or to an exchange or something. With this, you can do it through the API right now. So just create a payout of zero point 0.5 Bitcoin. Even though if you don't have zero point 0.5 Bitcoin, it's fine. Just create the payout for zero point 0.5 Bitcoin and schedule it. With the automated payout with the automated payout processor, it will try to do it, and as soon as you have enough balance, it will send it forward. So it will work with cold storage and it will work with an exchange. So once we have the custodian API in there, we can kind of glue them together to fetch an exchange address, and then this one will create a payout to that address, and you can kind of keep flowing money to the exchange, and then you can execute a sell order as well. So we can have that exchange fiat conversion that people ask for a lot natively inside BTCPay. True, I say natively, but mostly because of the APIs. But there is still things we need to build to make that function. But yeah, so the idea is to have it, quite open. Like it's not meant to just automatically only handle like sending out the pull payment stuff. Another part of this pull request is that now you can have payouts without a pull payment. So if you go to the wallet send page, now there's a button called schedule, and what that does is it creates a payout that are not attributed that are not associated with a pull payment. So now you have independent payouts that can be handled in there.
So if I get this correctly, this is always triggered by a payout. It's basically tied to a payout, as you said. That's why the renaming of maybe to payout processor is coming from,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just in terms of having an exchange integration into a payout, since it's an important feature, I think it needs to be a little bit more obvious, the UX around it, than just telling people like create a payout and things like that. Like you really want to have
No.
like more obvious functionality where they can easier just offload those funds, because I think it's very important functionality that just probably needs
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little bit more attention. But
It's not possible right now. Let's say it that way. It's very manual work. Like even if you have the custodian API and this transfer processor built in, it's still not automated. You still have to either code it in or you sub Zapier integration or some kind of magic that way. So it still has manual pieces to it that are still not possible to automate and just configure nicely. So first we build this one, then we also build the custodian API, and then you need the third part, which is basically triggering both parts together and making sure they all get executed at the right times.
Now that you've explained it, I got a technical impression of what this might look like and how it works. Nevertheless, I think from the user's perspective, we could think about it a bit more, how we maybe abstract all of that, because it's rather technical how we talked about it. And I think what Path is hinting at is, yeah, that we kind of need a more conceptual term, or something that explains everything to the user.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
Pav?
I think I
Sorry.
think so. Yeah, I think it can be improved later, but yeah, especially like in this PR, there is really two feature in one PR, like that are completely I would say separated. There is a feature where you say I want to send to this address this amount of money, scheduled for later, and then you have a separate page where you see all the everything that is waiting to be sent. And this is what we call the payout, and this is completely separated from the concept of payout processor. Most people, I guess, won't use payout processor for now. I think it's pretty experimental at this point, but it just allows them to send automatically after every day or something like this. But you're right that it will need to be improved, but I think it can very easily be improved later. Like for now, it's very basic, like very raw, and it will take some experimentation from UX perspective to find the right way of presenting it, I guess.
I do want to add that if we do add it's really wise to document it very well for the users, so the users at least won't mix stuff up. That the documentation is at least ready when it ships.
Yep.
Yeah, where I was coming from was more like, before documenting it, we would need to have a way to, yeah, explain the whole concept to the user. And what we discussed is rather technical, and we oftentimes things that Destruct and I are cleaning up right now are a result from, or we take something that's there that works technically, but we yeah, kind of try to present it to the user in a way that he understands it, and it's he can grasp it better.
Yeah. That's why like transfer processor is kind of like a new entity. It's not really having any existing building blocks in it. In terms of I'm gonna talk from a database perspective. We added a new table in there. I know this does not fit very well to your UX ease of use stuff, but yeah, we added a new table to the database, so it's a new entity that somebody has to go in a store and configure now. So and it's completely opt-in, so it's very optional to people. Like they don't need to go and do it right now. Nevertheless, if you go to the payouts page in your store, now you'll get an alert at the top, an info one that says, "Oh, we've detected that there are transfer processors available for your payment methods that you haven't configured yet." if you configure them, you might have better convenience or better functionality around here, and then it gives you a link to configure them. Now,
Yeah.
that's not a lot, but I mean, we also need some documentation to go with it, I guess, to make it nicer.
Well, if you have time, like tomorrow, I think that would be nice to just improve a bit the description of the PR with some screenshot and what you did exactly, because after we will take that for blog post and for documentation and to explain as well to UX or to deal with it. So I think just improving the description of the PR will help a lot to make things clearer for them. I got it on my side, but yeah, it took me time as well.
I can help with that part because I've been asking like quite a lot of questions to cooks about how this all fits in together. So me and Bus can work on documenting this properly. Bus will open an issue probably on documentation, and we will add like the core function of it. But like to summarize, it basically allows you to set a time interval, and your scheduled payouts will be sent according to that time interval in the store settings. And the only way user would actually be aware of this feature right now is if they go to wallet and then they will see schedule for later button, or if they do it directly from the payouts, they will probably see a way to schedule it for later. Am I right, Cooks, for the second part, at least, from scheduling from the payouts page?
You can't really schedule from the payouts page, actually. Like there's no option in there to create a payout. We could probably do it, but yeah, I didn't really bother to add it in yet.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Just in the send page.
Yeah, so right now what this would do is allow people to schedule transactions, schedule refunds, and basically batch them according to that time interval set in the store settings. And this also ties in with another PR, so we can move to that one, 1851. I will paste it in the chat. We will also need that one because that one allows you to automatically basically approve full payments, Nico. So we need to get that one as well.
Can we do we need it for this release, this one?
Yeah, because they tie in together. I rebased. So just so you know, the codes plus and minus signs there are wrong because this also includes the transfer processor PR. It's much
Okay.
smaller. It's much smaller than this. It just looks crazy because of that. I rebased it on it and I added some small tweaks here and there. It's not much to it. Once we merge the other one, we can look at this one. What it does is basically when you create a pull payment, you now have an option to have it pre-approved, and if it's pre-approved, it will skip that waiting approval step and it will just go through. When you pair this with the transfer processor, what it means is a merchant can go to the invoice page, they can create a refund, they can give it to the user, and as soon as they enter their Bitcoin address or their Lightning address or whatever, and they click submit, it will automatically be handled, and the refund will be automatically processed. So it's going to be a much better workflow for these kind of scenarios.
I think it's not, we don't have to deal with it right now, but one thing that is a bit scary is that anybody that can create refund can basically drain the wallets.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what's the permission right now on refunds.
I think we looked at this, Dennis, not long ago. I don't remember what it was though.
Only store owner should have that permission, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's how it is.
Because for the guests, they are greeted with a very nice error, but we probably want to improve that as well. But Dennis, I know Dennis has looked into this one, I think, recently.
Yeah, I've also talked about this with Nicolas, and this whole conversation was sparked by an issue someone wrote, and I think you can look at it both ways. And what Nicolas and I came up with as a conclusion is that in the long run we would need to extend the permissions and maybe add at least a store manager role to our permission system.
So I think I kind of started this a bit a few versions ago. I started some work around allowing additional roles for a store, but I haven't really worked on it more. So through the API right now, it doesn't let you create more roles, but it is a like the work that is needed to make this work is already in there. Like we just have to we have a few more UIs to build if we have to do it, and a few more APIs. But basically, you would have to create a UI to create roles for stores, and then those roles have to have the permissions that we enable inside them. So there's a couple of things to build on top of it to make it work. But I did do some prep work, like instead of hard coding stuff, I make sure that the admin is the only one that can do specific actions and stuff like that. So it's already like I already have that in mind for later on, but not yet.
Okay. Well, I think it might be in 1 or 2 big release this one.
Yeah.
So,
I know that the PNX bit guys were asking for this specific feature for a while, but obviously it's hard to do it right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think we're in the right direction because in the past few versions we've added permission checks here and there. Like we actually check against policies now instead of just can modify store or can view store. So it's slowly getting there. We just have to micromanage it a bit more in the UI.
So when if I got this right, your idea is to allow BTC Pay admins to define custom roles and assign permissions to them or policies.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's BTC admins or if it's store admins that can create their own roles. One or the other or both. Yeah, we have to figure that out. It's still very bare bones in my head. Right now, there's no concept of a store roles table. Right now, it's just how was it? Store. It's like there's no actual roles. It's just we say, is this guy an admin? Yes or no, kind of thing. So we can change that later on.
Yeah, maybe we can also do a bit of user research and inquire with a few people what they would want, because I think maybe a simple solution like adding a store manager might suffice, and we could simplify things there so that not everyone who wants to extend the store permissions has to set up custom roles, assign policy and such.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit too much. It's a bit over the top, but at the same time, if we build that foundation, then we can easily create these predefined roles as well. But
Typical
yeah.
cooks.
Yeah, that's what I was hinting at, because at least for this use case, the user originally brought up it. I think there's an easier fix possible.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So the refund thing is, I think we've already looked at it, and it shouldn't be a security issue because it's already only for store owners.
Okay.
So in the future, we should definitely, I guess, scope this for store managers, because I also got the feeling that people who request it mostly just want managers to handle actually refunds or schedule refunds so that store owner can accept them. And what they also want is somebody to troubleshoot the invoice properly. So those are the permissions that, at least my impression was with talking to the people who request this. But yeah, we can try to scope it a little bit, I guess, and just talk to people.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk to PNX guys or whoever requested this and see how we can make this possible. But let's move on to another, which is so Nico, we agreed that we will do 1851 allow auto approval or of pull payments for this release, right? Because it fits a little bit with your entire.
Yeah. It seems okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
just to sum that one up. Okay, let's move to the API for dealing with custodians 3232, I believe, which is the one Wouter made. Like, what's the consensus for that one?
I'm
So-
here, guys.
Hey,
So yeah, I was thinking like either like doing it because it's kind of a big piece as well to review, and like we have so much thing for this release. So I was thinking either to move it in the one a small release after this big release, or next big release, but it will need like really special, uh, I think specific blog posts and specific documentation just for this feature because it's kind of big things as well.
Yeah, so on this PR, I did a commit, I think, a while back, where I moved the stuff for the Kraken specific stuff to a separate project, which is a plugin. So one thing we need to do once we actually review everything in this one is to move the Kraken specific stuff into a separate branch, so that we can have a pull request without the Kraken stuff, so that the base is in there, and then we can and then like I already separated it, so it's not that hard. We just have to literally
So
cut it in.
maybe in this case, like maybe without the Kraken, maybe one thing we can do is just to merge the like abstract interface in this
Yeah.
release, and the Kraken will release it later, but
No,
like
no,
as a
you
plugin.
don't even need to. Yeah, exactly. You don't
Yeah, as a
even need to
plugin.
release it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as we get the interfaces inside BTCPay.abstraction, it's fine. We can release the plugin
Yeah.
whenever is needed. Actually, whenever Voter wants, because he just has to do a pull request to add the plugin to the App Store.
I see. How big will be the PR without Kraken? Is it also a big thing or?
Good question. I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
It's going to be almost the same size except for one file or a few files that is
okay.
Kraken specific, and one test file that would not be there. So maybe you
Okay.
save a few files, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not
And
worth
and
actually.
in terms of documentation, there is a Swagger file there, and it is 100% complete and accurate.
Yeah, and I see that lots of line actually in this PR are more documentation and test than code to review. So maybe it's fine. What do you think? Do you think that we should wait next release, or we should try to put it in this one?
So I'm trying to look at the. Let me just open up my. So the main things in this PR that you have to look at, like the most important part, if we're only putting in the abstraction, is the four interfaces that there are under custodian slash client. Sorry, not client, but under custodians. There's I can deposit, I can trade, I can withdraw, and I custodian. Those are the four main things that you have to look at. And if you're happy with these, then I don't have a big problem with any merge for this release. But if any of these interfaces if we're considering that they have to change, like the signature changes, then the plugins become an issue, because then we have to do releases and breaking changes and that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
it's very important that these four interfaces are kind of reviewed, and that we agree that it's good to be merged, and that they're flexible enough to expand later on if need be.
I see. Okay. Okay. So maybe in this case, I will give a try and maybe try to put it in this release. Like I browsed quickly on the code, and most of the thing actually is not big deal to review. I'm thinking it's like really test interface and documentation, so it seems okay actually. Yeah.
So my biggest concern is still the JObject thing. I'm trying to figure out if there's a better way to do it or not, because it ties us
What's the
in.
problem?
It's because you can't use these interfaces without knowing what the custodian that you're using internally is doing, because the
Yeah,
JObjects are
but
specific.
there is no workaround this I think.
But the solution is coming when I get started on the front end stuff. So there will be an extra method that returns the format of the data that's needed, and that is going to solve everything. So it's going to be an extra getter, maybe two getters, and you will get the details for the J object and how it should be filled, and that will be custodian specific. So it can be solved, but it ties into the front end. So I haven't done it yet.
Actually, this like the way I think the way of doing that will be just like it's a Swagger basically. You will want the schema of the
Yeah.
JSON object, and what you want to do is to generate dynamically the interface, right?
Not
If I
the yeah
understood.
the UI, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the UI part of it from the JSON
yeah.
schema.
Hmm.
I think that's
So
cool.
so what I did on mine on my transfer processor, which is it kind of had the same idea as yours, right? You have to instead of registering a custodian, I register a transfer processor. So it's kind of the same pattern to it. But um, instead of having one UI that tries to render it based on your schema, I created specific UIs for every I guess in your case custodian, and that's how they get handled. So instead
Yeah,
of having
right now you hard coded it directly, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's not even hard coded. I just created like imagine if you had to create a plugin for Kraken, right? Like the plugin will contain a specific UI that you create yourself that is tailored for the Kraken interface.
Okay. But I think we discussed with Wouter about this, and
Yeah, we have been back and forth on this, and the idea was that there would be dynamic forms. So basically, a JSON object that just says, okay, you want to configure withdrawals, or you want to just get the generic configuration. Okay, there's going to be like 4 text fields. That's the label. That's the type of the field, so text type,
so
and that allows you to render the front end. But it could also be used from the API to get an idea of what is the configuration going to contain, or in a later stage, if you want to create an app, so a different front end entirely, you can still do that.
like the way that you're doing cooks with plugins, where you have your own CS HTML directly inside the plugin. The downside of it is that changes on the UI might completely break it.
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
I I
yeah,
I I know about that. It's definitely an issue, but at the same time, plugins can asynchronously create their own updates, and then they can fix their UI. And the only thing that breaks is the UI for it, or whatever else. It's still contained in the plugin, so they can always go like, let's say Ellen Bank did an update to Bootstrap 50. Um, um, they'll probably open up an issue. It's like, hey, this UI is completely fucked up. What's going on? And it's like, oh, let me fix this. He fixes it, creates a new release, and uploads it to the plugin directly. He's like, oh, you can update the plugin now, while they don't need to go to BTCPay, create an issue, create a new release, all that stuff. So it's asynchronous, right? So you can fix it in parallel.
yeah. Okay, good point. Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, anyway, I think this can be like we can settle the matter for custodian later. I guess we don't have to do it in this release. But yeah, it's I can see pros and cons for the two approach, and I'm not
Hmm.
entirely sure like what's the best right now.
Yeah, like even from my end, right now even the API is kind of segregated. Like there is a specific API for the on-chain automated transfer processor, and then there is also one for the Lightning automated processor, right? So having a unified one would also be nice. But I mean, I can add it later, and Vote you can also add the inverse of his later too. So it doesn't really matter too much, I guess. We can always both kind of unify and have both directions at the same time. One of them is just nicer because the unified one is nicer because you just hit one URL, and mine is nicer because you can also hit very specific written stuff and with specific business logic.
Yeah.
So they both work quite well.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see that later in a later release. I think anyway it's not part of the PR and doesn't have to be included right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So make payout label unique. I think that was a small one. This one, no?
Yeah.
4,000. What the fuck? Every of your PR is 4,000 line. What the fuck?
It's also rebased on the transfer processor.
Okay. You really
Yeah.
want the transfer processor in? Okay.
It's
Now I
like
understand why.
yeah. So basically, what this does is it modified the payout label so that it can store multiple payouts and multiple pull payments in it, so that we can handle it better. We can handle it multiple different ways. So the first one I did is
So
the easiest.
just to explain a bit the problem of to the people is that when you pay several payout in one batch, you have one transaction paying several payouts. And right now, like we have a payout label in the wallets that link to the payout, but the problem is that if you have several payout for one transaction, how do you show that to the UX? And this is what this PR is about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've modified the payout labels structure and the class at least or the data, and now it will store multiple payouts in there. It's a list of payout IDs and it's a list of pull payment IDs as well. And what it will do is either one, it will render the way I did it right now is it will render one label, but in the tooltip it will list not even list actually. It says how was it? Yeah, it will say this transaction paid 4 payouts in 5 different pull payments or something like that. And when you click it, it will link you to a list of payouts in the completed side. But this is only the most basic way to do it. I just wanted to make sure the structure is there because right now the data is being lost. This one will make sure it's saved and we can make it pretty later on, like
Yeah.
in very different ways.
Yep.
And I've tried a few ways to do this. So I've made it so that we are able to either do one unified label, which says 4 payouts, or it will be able to now output 4 different labels from the one label. I forgot what we call it, label data, I think. So now a label data can output multiple items. It's like an enumerator built into it if you wanted it. So, but it's not important to.
Okay. See, I need to take a look. Like I don't really understand yet, but
Yeah, we need to merge the transfer processors before you can take a look because the amount of crazy comments inside it is a bit too much now.
tomorrow let's merge it.
Nice. That's how you do it.
Yeah,
You
that's
hold
the
every,
way.
you hold every other feature as hostage until you do it. Yeah.
Then like the allow user enable disable. So I saw your PR. It's just an API for being able to lock user
Yeah.
out. I think
Yeah.
it should just be lock. Lock and
Yeah.
lock.
Yeah. I did that. So I changed the API to be /lock now. And inside the UI, inside the server settings /users UI, it will show enabled or disabled though.
Okay.
Which is fine because it's
But,
I made it like a toggle there, so it's fine.
by the way, I don't remember your code, but do you use the lock feature of the
Yeah.
ASP.NET provider? Okay.
Yeah. And one thing to note as well, I also for the APIs for basic and API key support, I made them check the lockout feature because before we were ignoring it completely.
Okay.
So now it's checked in those.
Nice. Okay. Next, Shopify invoice ID different than BTCPay Server order ID.
Yeah.
Is it
So
big?
No, it's a small thing. I need to. I'll do it sometime this week, hopefully. Basically, it's that Shopify has two IDs inside them, right? They have the Shopify uh, ID, and then they have the Shopify order. And we save the ID, which is what you need to use
Nice.
for the API, and that's part of the order ID. But people people don't know what this ID is. It's only like the only way you can tell that the
Internal
Shopify
stuff.
ID, yeah, it's an internal stuff. So the only way you can see is if you copy that ID and put it inside the URL of a Shopify order. So what I will do is I will take the Shopify order and I will put it in the POS data so it will show up for the merchant inside the UI. And then I'll
Yeah.
also add it to the search term stuff.
Yep. Oh my God, there is like 3 ID, like Shopify ID, BTCPay ID, order ID.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
it's
had a
fun.
similar issue with WooCommerce as well, if I remember correctly.
Wait, no, WooCommerce, we don't have this problem because the order ID is clear. It's like the ID of the order of WooCommerce.
No, there was a possibility to create a custom order ID, and this was also causing troubles.
Yeah, we fixed
you
it
can-
a year ago or so.
And how did you manage to fix it? Because I think we should use the same approach in this case.
Yeah, as Cooks described, we add that data to the POS data.
Okay, well, then in this case, let's just do the same. The only thing I'm bit not concerned, but we might be able to improve is that I don't think this data is currently indexed. So people might not be able to search for it in the invoice search, I think.
Yeah, we can. I was gonna add it to the search terms as well for the invoice.
Yeah, we already have something like this.
Yes, we have like 2 or 3 features around searching, so don't worry. We
Okay.
have the invoice search terms and we have the internal tags as well.
It makes me think, do we do this for WooCommerce and custom order? Like, how do people search for their custom order with the search? Doesn't work, right?
I think it does work, or I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure actually.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I got this one because I cannot believe that we added refunds that haven't done all of these things. 3597 is the next one, I guess. I'll put the link in the chat. And we have the BitcoinDev with us, a new developer interested in contributing to BTCPay Server, and he's tackling this one. But I will just intro the problem, and then maybe the BitcoinDev can talk about the solution that he is thinking of adding. So basically, we do have like a refund for invoices, but when you export invoices, it does not say it is refunded. So if you issue the refund and did an accounting, you will own way more Bitcoin according to the balance than because we don't like add negative balance. We don't label it as refunded. It's basically just settle invoice when you refund it, when you export it from the invoice view. So that's one bug. Another one is that in invoice view, you cannot distinguish refunded invoices because they are labeled as settled. So if you were to issue a refund to an invoice, you wouldn't know that it's actually refunded as a user. If you go to the invoices page, and then in the invoice detail, there is basically no field that says that invoice is refunded. So basically, you can attempt to refund a refunded invoices all over again. And the fourth one is that there is no indicator of the amount refunded in the invoice details. So if you were to issue a partial refund in the invoice details, this wouldn't be visible. Good thing is that we already have all of this in as a metadata from what I understood, Cooks. So we do have an easy way to handle this, but we just don't do it in the UI, and it's very problematic. I'm not sure if we can do it in this release, but maybe the BitcoinDev can intro himself and then maybe to talk what he did there. Can you hear us, the BitcoinDev?
Yes. Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
for that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. A little intro about myself. I'm based in California, Los Angeles, and I heard about you guys from Steve Myers from Bitcoin, actually. And I have experience in C# for a few years now, so he mentioned it to me, and then I thought maybe I could help. You know. So yeah, for the refund stuff, I'm only familiar with the code. I started looking at it 2 days ago, and I saw that, like you mentioned, on the data rows, the invoices page, right? We are marking them as settled. So my approach was to change the status to refunded, and if we do that, we can also modify. If we add that feature, we can we can modify the can refund method to just return false if it is refunded, and that will take care of the invoices space. It should probably take care of the export of Excel file, and it should also stop people from refunding more than once, right?
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Like, it's good to see some C# dev like coming on board. Like, I so we cannot. I don't think we can really change the status, because like I think it will cause lots of things breaking. Like changing the status will really, lots of people depend on them, and introducing a new value at this point, I think it will be kind of big breaking change for them. But I think what we should do will be more to just add one more field to invoices, you know, like refunded, like just a boolean, something like this. And on the UI, it's different. Like on the UI, like maybe we can do like like you seems to do, like with a different. How did you do on the UI? It's a different badge, right, for the status, right?
Yeah, we can have 2 badges on there, I think. We
Yeah,
have set.
I I think, yeah, in the status column we can put 2 badge. I think it's fine.
Yeah, instead of another
Yeah. So
we
how?
don't. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, how can we know if there is a refund as of now? What's the flag? Is there a table?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a
Yeah.
table, refund table. I think it's called refund data.
Yes, we don't use it at all, but it's there.
Oh, we don't use it.
Okay.
Oh shit.
I don't think we use it.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so Pat, forget what I said that we have the data. We don't have the data.
We have the data. We have.
Oh, so we do use it.
Yeah. Like the refund is like it's in the table. It's inserted in the table, but we don't use it anywhere.
That's perfect.
Actually, there
we
is
don't...
another table like this, but yeah, it's yeah.
Perfect.
But that way we could do something like a join and maybe just grab the status from whether or not at least one row is there. So we don't have to
Right.
yeah, merge it with the general status, because I think if we'd do that, it would also be a problem if we start to talk about partial refunds.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
it.
that's
Okay.
we can always do a join and get the refund amount. Well, Nicholas, is the refund table linking an invoice ID to a payout ID or to a full
Yes.
payment ID, I guess, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got to do a join to a join to a join, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now you were going to say BitcoinDev?
Okay, that makes sense. So if there is if there is a row in the refunds table, then would that be sufficient? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's like
again.
cutting like 20% of time.
Okay. How about, is it better now?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Refunds table for that invoice mean that we can set this new flag as refunded. Would that be a good identifier?
Yes, and not as a separate column of the invoice, but rather as a virtual attribute, I'd suggest.
So in this case, it would be, yeah, okay. Yeah, not a new attribute. Actually, we just need to expose it in the UI, right? So maybe
And the export.
I export, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it should not be a big deal because we have this refund table. So
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be
The
fine.
refund table saved us for sure.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be useful one day.
When did we have it? You said we have another table like this. What was it?
Historical addresses.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I've had to deal with that one a few times.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it does actually. I think
It's
the plan was to be able to
it keeps
assign and unassign addresses or something like this.
yeah, it keeps yeah, basically every time there's a payment or a partial payment, um you store a record of the current payment method details in it, and then you get a new version, and then yeah, you basically keep track of
Yeah.
all the addresses in it. So
Yep.
yeah.
After okay.
So is the approach, the Bitcoin Dev, is the approach clear now? And maybe because of the lag, we can discuss it in the development channel. Like if you have any questions or whatever. I'm not sure if you're still lagging. Jitsi sometimes lags, so it might not be you at all. Okay, let's go to the next one, and if there is something that's not clear, we can always iron it out and discuss in the development channel. There is also one more. Nico, this one is about invoice filtering to match the greenfield API statuses, because currently if you filter invoice, I will paste it in the chat, 3573. And the Bitcoin Dev also commented a little bit on it, but I'm not sure if we can even discuss it considering the latency. But just quickly, basically the invoice filter doesn't really match our current statuses, so we just wanted to rename them in a way that it makes sense. And Bitcoin Dev posted some screenshots about how he did it, and he added coloring to it because we thought adding colors would be a good idea, but it doesn't look that good with colors. So as you can see in the latest comment of his, so yeah, maybe we can just
Okay, yeah.
So this is kind of tricky because now everything is settled. It doesn't even follow that, because you've got a matrix of a status and additional status. So this dropdown is very hard to make it match properly, because you can have invalid and paid late, you can have invalid and partial, and you can have all these kind of things mixed in. I don't know if this filter is good enough as it is.
I think it's good enough, like for a very simple filter that it's kind of like a documentation in a sense, because when you click on it, it autofill like the filter in the text area. So if people want to read something specific, they can do by themselves. But yeah, I think the label need to be changed definitely. I don't know about the color, like it's more destruct matter maybe. But yeah, I will take a look at the renaming.
Wait.
It here.
I had a pull request in 2019 of a way to do this. Let me see. Yes, the sub 1000th pull requests.
Holy shit.
So in this pull request, I had kind of decided that I did not like the filtering. So instead of letting that predefined list, I had created like a filtering system inside the UI. but maybe it's too much. I don't know.
Yes. Oh my god. Too bad that Denis is gone. Like he will never his ass.
And now he suggests like this to be connected with payout processors and then have a plugin for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, this pull request depends on the payment processors.
He's been keeping the product hostage below 1,000 PR, so.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay, so yeah.
I will send that to Denis just so you can get a laugh.
I guess the last one is something that Eski brought up. Like he had a user registering on his server, and then that user changed email, but in that case we do not send like email verification, so apparently the user couldn't verify himself and got locked out. That's at least from what I understood from the text, but I'm not sure if somebody can try to replicate this. It would be very useful. I had no idea how to replicate it.
Yeah, I guess if he did this on a server that doesn't have email sender, like maybe that's the problem.
No, he does, but apparently the user changed his email, and then in that case we do not send like email verification, and he used apparently a wrong email, and I guess tried to reset a password or something like that. So we don't resend an email if you change the email itself, and in that case I guess the user made a typo or something from
Okay.
I guess we can ask a little bit more for clarification. I'm not sure what Eski was basically asking for us to have like a way for him as admin to resend the email from the admin to the user. That was the problem.
You can always change his email address manually and then request his password to be changed. Like you can do it from the server settings users page, as far as I remember. Like you can change his password, or you can tell him that he can request a new password change.
Okay.
So it should be possible.
Let's leave a comment on there. I'm not sure if I understood. Like there was a lot going on that I guess submission. So just I will try to tell him to try that. But yeah, it's not like something like of urgency. We can do it in 1.46 if it's a bug. But I wasn't able to replicate it. So
I'll try to replicate it somewhere on one of the servers and see what happens.
Okay, that's cool. I guess, are there any final issues before I reveal an announcement that I'm joining OpenNode? I'm joking. So I'm not sure if you were looking at the chat, but somebody created a BTCPay point of sale and integrate. If you go to general, somebody made a BTCPay point of sale and integrated it. So that's the final thing I just wanted to share. It's in the general, basically the last message. Posted as we were having the meeting, so
nice. Pistol.net. Oh, look at that tablet.
Wow, so cool.
That's nice. Oh, it's
very
even
cool.
Using,
can we invite this dude to one of our talks, Pavlex? The off the seriousness talks, so to say, because this is cool. I want to talk with this guy.
Sure, I think he was asking for feedback. So if somebody has an Android, it seems that this works with certain Android point of sale systems as well. So that's really cool. Maybe we can help him. I can talk to him if you guys want and see what he needs help with. I just wanted to share because it was cool. So okay, so how does Thursday sound to release? So that will give us a week to iron all this stuff, create blog posts, documentation, and then push. Nico, I'm looking at you because you're the one pushing the button. Does the Thursday next week sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, we finally have a date, so let's try to stick with it. Any final thoughts, questions? End it? Maybe something on your end? I'm not sure.
From my end, yeah. So from Joomla, I think I will finish this week, and then I will start with open commerce. Had to do some text stuff.
On what? Open what?
Open commerce it's some open source PHP commerce store. So and a few users requested it, and also on the Twitter poll, quite a few requested it. So I think that's the next integration we will have already decided to the next one. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
fantastic news. Okay, guys, I guess then if there are no final comments.
Yeah, I have one final question.
Sure.
Because I want to get started on the minimal UI for the custodians, but we seem to be getting back to the point of the do we go with the J object, with the dynamic forms, or with the templates? And I feel we are stuck in with this debate for weeks, months now. So how do we get out of it? Because I want to get started.
I think let's wait at least that the current PR is merged, because it's like already a big fish.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's merged and the release is done, then we can start discussing it for for the next
Okay.
for the next release, because if in this release we get the current PR merged, then for the next release we can put a UI on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like
Sure.
even a small release, like if it's not too big, like we can do it in small release as well.
Okay. And what should I do in the meantime besides sitting on my hands?
Take care of your newborn, because congratulations, Wouter.
Yeah.
I think that is something fitting in here that we congratulate you on the
doing it.
newborn.
I didn't know when.
1 month ago.
Oh, okay. I was in my cave, that's why I missed the news.
Yeah. You was in your you were in your cave. That's right. That's right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I want to do something useful, but yeah.
Yeah, don't
there
worry about it. Like if you have another idea on stuff to work, like do it else. Like take care of your newborn.
Yeah, I still want to take a look at the backup and restore process for the Docker deployment. Maybe that's something I can look into,
That's
because
something.
it will come up at some point.
Another thing I was thinking, but I don't know, maybe it's already done. Like, is it possible to extend the how do you call this? The Swagger from a plugin.
Yeah, we already did it with Dennis.
Okay. So
Easy, done.
okay.
How
Go back
about
to plan B.
I might have some ideas as well.
Okay.
So in the BTCPay Server dash Docker, right now we have a bunch of opt-in plugins, right, that you can install one by one. And the way you install them is basically you create the way you create plugins in the Docker install is basically you create a YAML file, and then you
Fragment.
specify and then
Each
you specify
fragment.
the fragment exactly, and then you specify it inside the additional fragment environment variable. So a few years ago I built a configurator UI that lets you install BTCPay through a nice little UI, which is still available here, but it's getting outdated.
Is that the web page? What was it? Configure.btcpay or something, or start.btcpay?
Install.btcpayserver.org.
Yeah.
So in here, you basically give it all the instructions and whatnot, and there's a step where you can specify which plugins you want to install and whatnot. So, but right now it's all hard coded inside the application.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to do was inside the YAML files that people that plugins are built on. What if we have some extra metadata that we can use to scrape? So, for example, you can create, let's say under the what options are there? Let's say under the Thunder Hub option in the YAML fragment file, we can create like a name tag, a plugin tag, or something, and basically, add all the data that we have in the README that tells you, oh, you can use this fragment as an extra plugin for your LND. What if we add them directly in the YAML file, and then this configurator can just scrape the data from
this is possible since what was it, Docker release 3 or Docker Compose 3. They now have special what's it called, names for fields in Docker Compose that are ignored. So if you put in a field like X underscore whatever,
Oh no,
then
we don't even need those. We don't
Docker
even need
Compose
those
is,
because
yeah, but Docker Compose will crash if it doesn't recognize the schema.
yeah, but in BTCPay Server Docker, we have a C# program that grabs these fragments and puts them all together, and then it removes these extra stuff because we already have these
Okay.
fields like exclusive, required. I don't remember what there is, Nicholas, but there we do have some non standard
Outside.
properties.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
We are
Sure.
we are
Yeah.
processing with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The program is a bit like hard to read, though, I must say.
yeah.
But yeah, if you want to check.
I took a look at it earlier, but it's I
Yeah,
couldn't make
but
I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. How is this Docker Compose to get generated at all?
so what it does is basically grabs all the environment variables that you use in the
Mhm.
install and the configuration, and it will basically grab the fragments and it will create a Docker Compose from all of them. So
Yeah.
it has a YAML uh, parser and formatter, and it will grab them, merge them together, and based on your configuration options, create a specific Docker Compose file.
Like
And
the best, like I sent you a link because I did a presentation in a conference about it, and actually it's a pretty nice overview of how it works and how things are tied together. It's not that
Okay.
hard, yeah. It's just
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
it's a
But
YAML merger basically.
yeah, but
Yeah.
actually the funny part is we're doing something similar at our company now, but in PHP. So yeah, I get it. I get it. There's only so much you can do with Docker Compose, and they do support a lot of stuff to combine and merge, but there's always something that they are not doing, so you end up parsing yourself. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, sure. Okay. Is there an issue for that, or if it just yeah?
I can create it with you, I think, or I'll create it and then we can talk about it afterwards. What do you
Sure.
think? Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Dennis, are you still up for that
Dennis is
Docker
gone.
backup? Oh, Dennis is gone. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. He was interested in the Docker backups as well, so I'll ping
it's a
him about it.
very hard thing to do, though. Just keep that in mind. The Docker backup thing is very
Uh-huh.
tricky because, well, at least now it got a bit better because MB Explorer state is now in the same database. So that's one less thing to worry about. But we still have like Lightning node backup stuff is still a complete nightmare.
I know.
But there is one thing we can do if you have C Lightning, which I want to eventually migrate at least. C Lightning supports Postgres as a backend as well, but right now we do everyone as SQLite. So if we can find a
Okay.
way to migrate people to use, if we can migrate from SQLite to Postgres, then we've also gotten rid of one more, dangerous
Yeah,
part of.
I think in any case, like there is two things to back up, and I think it should be done at the at the Docker volume level. I think the backup should just like back up the Docker volume and not try to
Yeah,
use
that's what I
specific
was
of what is
thinking.
inside. So I think it doesn't really matter that we are using SQLite or Postgre because at the end of the day we just back up all the volume and that's it.
Yeah, it should just be a shell script or something that just backups
Yeah.
all the volumes and all the necessary project files and puts it in one archive or something like that.
Yeah,
We had
yeah,
that already though,
we
but it
have
doesn't
You
that.
work,
do?
I
Yeah,
think.
I think
You
it's
do?
not true. Yeah, I think it's not true when maintained. Actually, I think it's Dennis that did it.
No,
Oh
it was
yeah, that's
it
yeah.
was
That I
Jeff.
know. Yeah, I've seen that script, but it's no good. It is too limited.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, it's a good place to start, but there's lots of issues
Yeah.
with that script.
Yeah.
So that would be the starting point, but expand from there, and then I don't know, maybe ideally we could also hook it into that install procedure. Like you could maybe start from a previous backup or something. I don't know, but that's further down the road, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
But step one is decent backups, and yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Makes
good.
sense.
That's it.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, we can wrap this one up. We are like quite up over the time, so let's just keep merging those PRs and reviewing, and then release the awesome 1.5.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day, guys. See you on the next dev call.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Ciao.
Bye.
For too long, we've relied on trusted third parties to process digital payments. The world is changing, and so are your customers. As cash payments decrease, digital payments become the standard. But existing apps charge transaction fees and lack privacy. BTCPay is a Bitcoin payment platform. It gives control over your business back to you, helping people achieve financial freedom with donations, payments, and more. Help your family and onboard your friends. Use BTCPay to host multiple stores and become a payment platform of your own. While the world changes around you, stay in control of your finances. It's simple to use, censorship resistant, and completely free. This is more than a payment platform. It's transforming digital payments as fast as the world around us.